Bedford Falls is the fictional city which serves as the location of the 1946 Christmas film, It's a Wonderful Life. Pottersville is an imaginary city within that film. It seemed important to state that if I went first, and even if I didn't, so you would know what we were talking about. Before this, I'd never seen It's a Wonderful Life, not the whole way through. Now I understand why it's shown every year. There's the story and Jimmy Stewart and the comforting familiarity of scenes that even without ever having seen the whole movie, I seem to know by heart. The angel getting his wings at the end, George saving his brother from drowning. Still, there was something incongruous about watching this movie when it was 65 degrees and gray outside, what passes for winter here. Nothing like the cold and snowy winter portrayed in the film. It reinforced the fundamental incongruities of Los Angeles as a place, as a city, and especially as a home. That is perhaps most pronounced at Christmas when, like a college town during the summer, the city simply empties. I'm from Seattle. I grew up there and then went to college in Chicago and lived there for a number of years before moving here a year ago, July. And so I have 3 places I could properly call home. And either because I've been here the least amount of time, or because this is where I actually live, or because of something peculiar to LA, Los Angeles is the least of these homes. At least for me, so far, Los Angeles cannot be a home because it cannot be a place. It is the distance from other places. For me, it is the distance from Chicago, which is a fluid space, and the more absolute distance of Seattle from everything since. The space opened is not nothing. In fact, it is rich, and when I let it remain open, it can be incredibly full. But whatever this is, it is not home. It is not autonomous, and it does not seem to exist outside the attempt to define it. Those definitions necessarily fall back on previous places where I felt at home, in good ways and bad, the places I've left. If anyone should, George Bailey, go back, the protagonist of It's a Wonderful Life longs to leave his home, to leave Bedford Falls. And if anyone should argue the negative of Bedford Falls, it's George, who only wants to travel and explore, choosing over the love of Donna Reid, no relation, indeterminate adventures in Europe and South America as represented by pictures from travel brochures. In Bedford Falls, he sees only limitations, those of others as much as his own, and it is his gift to see what limits others and to help them exceed these. Though in his generosity, he feels himself more and more constrained, more bound to these people and his home. A long time ago, Emerson said, "Traveling is a fool's paradise. We owe to our first journeys the discovery that place is nothing. I pack my trunk, embrace my friends, embark on the sea, and at last wake up in Naples. And there beside me is the stern fact, the sad self, unrelenting, identical that I fled from. My giant goes with me wherever I go." Not by traveling, but by moving here, making Los Angeles a home, we discover this, that place is nothing. We have a strange problem. We come to this place only to discover it does not exist, and so we have to create it, or otherwise live doubly without a home. The other problem, perhaps stranger, is what George also finds, that we can't leave. This is a special city for that, and maybe unique, and for me, coming to grips with that is settling into here, or anywhere, is being at home. Instead of a place, we find here ourselves, for better or worse, and ourselves in all aspects, all possible versions of ourselves. This is the giant we take, the one we must find a home for. And if we are lucky or industrious, we find one another, engaged in the same search. The radical form of leaving home, the kind George Bailey in desperation asks for, denies one's origins, believing being thus dislodged, all things are possible. Pottersville is the alternate city that would have been without George Bailey, his kindness and good works. It is perhaps Too easy to criticize Pottersville as a materialistic urban center organized by the greed of one man, the banker Potter. That gives too much credit to Potter and greed and bankers. They are not creators. It is better to understand this hypothetical city as created by the absence of George, how any one of us would experience the world in total flight from ourselves, the conditions which make our life both possible and particular to us, what makes our life our own. Such freedom comes at the price of accessing the world only through the chaos of one's impulses, the satisfaction of desires, that is only in taking. And there is no peace in that state, none at all. Bedford Falls is home. Not simply the home where you live, it is the home you cannot leave. Even if you leave, maybe especially if you leave. It is Seattle, it is Chicago, and now it is Los Angeles too. Here is the end of the journey, the end of traveling, and not being a place, never arriving, one never leaves. Something about Los Angeles does, unlike the other places I've lived, make it possible and even easy for me to sometimes believe that, like George Bailey and Pottersville, all would be the same if I was never here. I can imagine the city and all of you and everyone else living the same trajectories. What I cannot imagine is my life without the people in it. And I cannot conceive of right now without all of you being present for it. Those who I know as much as those who are total strangers. Los Angeles affirms that home is here, where we are, that it is not a place but a nest of people, most of whom you will not know. And if I am unable